What's going on, guys? My name is 6 and welcome back to another Listverse lists. Now today we're going to be looking at 10 young people who murdered their parents. So let's go on with the video. Number 10. William James Bresnahan Jr. On August 4th, 1964, the bodies of Broomfield, Colorado physician William Bresnahan Sr. and his wife Laurel were discovered at a campsite near Silverthorne. Authorities eventually tracked down their 16-year-old son, William Jr., who confessed to murdering his family while on a camping trip. William claimed that his parents had always been abusive, and after getting into a heated argument with his mother, he would wind up stabbing her to death. William then told his father what he had done before bludgeoning him to death. After pleading guilty, William received 2 life sentences in prison. This story has an unexpected ending. My water. Yeah, right. While incarcerated, William made a sincere attempt to turn his life around. He took courses from the University of Colorado and graduated at the very top of his class with a perfect 4.0 grade point average. This convinced the governor of Colorado to commute his sentence to 24 years, and William was paroled in 1977. A year later, he was accepted at the University of Colorado Medical School and earned himself a license to practice medicine in 1983. William started a successful career treating migrant workers at a clinic in California, and in 1987 he received an unconditional pardon from Governor Roy Romer. William James Bresnahan Jr. has continued to live an upstanding, crime-free life ever since. Number 9. Jasmine Richardson. The Canadian town of Medicine Hat, Alberta was shaken on April 23, 2006, when the bodies of Mark and Deborah Richardson were found in the basement of the home. They had each been stabbed several times, and Mark had very little blood left in his body. The couple's 8-year-old son Jacob was found upstairs with his throat cut, and his 12-year-old daughter Jasmine was missing. It was initially feared that Jasmine might have been abducted, but the truth was even more shocking. Jasmine was discovered alive the very next day in the province of Saskatchewan, alongside her 23-year-old boyfriend Jeremy Allen Stank. They were both charged with the murders of Jasmine's family. Because of the age difference, Jasmine's parents heavily disapproved of her relationship with Jeremy. Shortly before the murders, he reportedly watched the film Natural Born Killers, which features a young couple murdering the girl's parents before they run away to go on a killing spree. Jeremy soon convinced Jasmine to marry him and participate in the murders of her parents before they ran off. After the couple was arrested, Jeremy was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, given 3 life sentences. Jasmine was also charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, but because Canadian law prevents anyone under the age of 14 from being sentenced as adults, Jasmine was given a maximum penalty of 10 years. She is currently undergoing treatment at a psychiatric hospital and has reportedly expressed genuine remorse for her actions. Number 8. Christopher Walken. On the morning of November 15, 2004, the blood-soaked body of 52-year-old Peter Walker was found bludgeoned near the front door of his Delmar, New York home. He had been bludgeoned to death with a fire axe. Peter's wife Joan was found in her upstairs bedroom. She had also been bludgeoned with an axe but was still alive. Before she was rushed into emergency surgery, an investigator questioned Joan when asked if a family member attacked her. Joan supposedly nodded yes, after she mentioned the name of her youngest son, Christopher. After he mentioned the name of her youngest son, Christopher. After spending some time in a coma, Jones survived the attack, but did lose her left eye and a portion of her skull. At the time, Christopher Paulson was a 21-year-old student at Rochester University. His whereabouts could not be accounted for during the time of the murder, and his Jeep Wrangler was spotted in his parents' driveway that morning. This would like to present the side of a lavish lifestyle to his fellow students, and he found himself in his debt after forging his father's signature. Hi, saying hi to Doug Ely. Forging his father's signature to obtain loans and lines of credit. It was realized that Christopher murdered his parents after they confronted him about this, while during Paulson later claimed that she had no memory of the attack and supported Christopher. The circumstantial evidence was still strong enough to bring him to trial. In 2006, Christopher Paulson was found guilty of both second-degree murder and attempted murder, and was sentenced to 25 years to life for each count. Number 7. Seth Privity. In Muskegon, Michigan, the Privity family, or Pravaki. The Pravaki family was getting together for a belated Thanksgiving dinner at their home on November 29, 1988. However, when 19-year-old Jed Pravaki was watching television, his 18-year-old brother Seth grabbed his father's .22 caliber Ruger and shot him. When Seth's father and grandfather returned home, he shot them both as well. Seth's mother had been in the shower while this was happening, but she was quickly murdered after she got home. Jed's girlfriend, April Boss, was also shot to death after she showed up unexpectedly and saw Seth handling the bodies. Seth and his best friend, Stephen Wallace, to help him dispose of the gun and rearrange the bodies to make the scene look like a robbery. However, Seth's plan backfired when April's mother and stepfather showed up at the house and saw him moving one of the bodies outside. Seth took off and went on the run before he was captured the next day and made a full confession. Wallace was also arrested for helping Seth dispose of evidence, but was ultimately acquitted. Seth claimed that he killed his father for threatening to kick him out of the house and decided to murder the rest of his family for not standing up for him. He was convicted on 5 counts of murder and given a life sentence at the Kinross Correctional Facility in Kinjo. On July 15th, 2010, Seth Pravaki was shot to death during a failed escape attempt. No. 6. Brian Blackwell. Brian Blackwell was a bright 18-year-old from the village of Melling, England, who was doing very well during his first year at college and hoped to become a surgeon. However, he also suffered from narcissistic personality disorder and he would constantly lie to other students about his wealth. Brian claimed to be a professional tennis player and hoped to build up the facade of a lavish lifestyle by applying for 13 credit cards and numerous loans in his father's name. On July 15, 2004, on July 25th, 2004, his parents Sydney and Jacqueline allegedly confronted him about this, and Brian proceeded to beat them both with a claw hammer before stabbing them to death. Afterward, Brian took his girlfriend on an extended vacation to New York City and Barbados, racking up £30,000 in charges on his father's credit cards. The Blackwell's decomposing bodies were not even discovered until September, when Brian was questioned. He initially reclaimed his innocence, but then changed his story to say that while using a claw hammer to hang a picture, his father attacked him, forcing Brian to kill him in self-defense. Investigators not believe Brian Stone charged with murder. The charge was reduced when Brian pleaded guilty to manslaughter. the charge was reduced when Brian pleaded guilty to manslaughter. This became the first case in English history where narcissistic personality disorder was used as a defense, since experts would claim that Brum was overcome with narcissistic rage when he murdered his parents. He was ultimately sentenced to life in prison. David Brum. On the evening of February 18th, 1988, police in Rochester, Minnesota responded to a rumor that a 16-year-old student named David Brum supposedly told a schoolmate that he had murdered his family that morning. After visiting the Brum house, authorities were horrified to discover that David's parents, Bernard and Paulette, had been bludgeoned to death with an axe. To the children, 14-year-old Diane and 9-year-old Rachel had also been killed in sexual fashion, but David was nowhere to be found. It was spotted and arrested at the Rochester post office the following day. Since David was a straight-A student with displayed no signs of homicidal tendencies, his motive for the murders was murky. It may have been something as simple as an argument with his father over a punk rock music tape he brought. David murdered his family while they were sleeping and attended school next day where he described the murders in great detail to a female friend. Given his age, David normally would have been referred to the juvenile court system, but the severity of the crime necessitated that he be tried as an adult. David's legal team attempted to use an insanity defense, but he was still convicted of first-degree murder and given 3 consecutive life sentences. David Brum will not be eligible for parole until 2041. Number 4. John William McGrath. On March 10th, 1962, a 17-year-old high school student named John William McGrath shocked the community of Newport. Shocked the community of Newport, New Hampshire, by murdering his entire family. John returned home from work that night and was disillusioned when he found his parents, Francis and William arguing. After they left their house, John grabbed a rifle and shot his 2 brothers, 13-year-old Peter and 5-year-old Charles. When John's parents returned home, he also shot them. Afterward, while spattered with his family's blood, John drove 72 kilometers for 5 miles to a safe hospital in Concord and asked for treatment. He was quickly turned over to the police where he confessed to the murders and declared his family was both dead. John had spent 2 years in psychiatric treatment prior to murders and was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. A grand jury found him not guilty by reason of insanity and he was committed to a state mental hospital. Jordan remained locked up for 10 years till he escaped on August 13th, 1974. He had recently been transferred out of the hospital's maximum security ward and granted supervised walks on the grounds, but on this particular day he managed to disappear. No trace of John William McGrath has been found for nearly 40 years, and he remains the longest running escapee in New Hampshire history. If still alive, he'll be 69 years old today. Well, 69. Number 3. Andrew Walmsley. On the evening of December 11th, 2003, a Mansfield, Texas couple named Rick and Susanna Walmsley was shot and stabbed to death in their home. A clump of hair was found in Rick Walmsley's hand, and DNA tested matched it to a 19-year-old woman named Susanna Toledano, who implicated 3 others. Shut up! Who implicated 3 others at arrest. One of them was an hot manager and named Hilario Cardenas, who provided the gun. However, the murders were orchestrated by the Ramsey's 19-year-old son Andrew and his girlfriend Chelsea Richardson. Andrew had started dating Chelsea earlier that year, but his parents disapproved of the relationship and cut him off when he refused to end it. This eventually prompted the couple to marry Rick and Susanna so that Andrew could inherit their $1.65 million estate. Andrew and Chelsea enlisted Chelsea's roommate Susanna Toledano to fund with. After making some further attempts to sabotage the Ramsey's car, the trio finally succeeded in murdering him in their home on December 11th. Andrew and Chelsea coached Susanna as she shot and stabbed the Ramseys. Andrew had also been planning to kill his older sister Sarah, but she was not home that night. For his own crime, Hilario Cardenas pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and received a 50-year sentence. While attempts were made to give Andrew Walmsley, Jasmine Richardson, and Susanna Tater the death penalty, they each ultimately received sentences of life in prison. Number 2, David Payne. One would be hard-pressed to find many cases as controversial and divisive as the murders of the Payne family in Dunedin, New Zealand. On the morning of June 20th, 1994, authorities received a frantic phone call from 23-year-old David Payne, who reported that his father Robin, his mother Margaret, and his 3 siblings, Arawa, Vanier, and Stephen, had been shot. David claimed he had been on his paper run and returned home to find his entire family murdered, but police were very skeptical of his story. Some of the suspicious evidence against him included a lens from his glasses being found on the floor in Stephen's room, and his odd decision to put his clothes in the washing machine after returning from his paper run. 4 days later, he was charged with the murders and eventually sentenced to life imprisonment. The defense's theory was that Robin Payne murdered his entire family before committing suicide, since he was currently estranged from his wife and rumoured to be involved in an incestuous relationship with his daughter. A message had been written on his computer which read, "Sorry, you are the only one who deserved to stay." Though the prosecution claimed that David typed his message himself, the case was the subject of much controversy and debate. His death was finally granted a retrial as 9 hours acquitted. He spent subsequent years seeking compensation for his wrongful conviction, but opinions are still sharply divided over whether or not David is actually innocent. And number 1, Lowell Lee Andrews. On November 26, 1958, 22-year-old University of Kansas sophomore Lowell Lee Andrews was visiting his family for Thanksgiving at their home in Walken, Kansas. Lowell's parents, William and her partner, 17-year-old sister Jenny Marie, were watching television together when they were upstairs. As he finished, Lowell decided to go shave, put on a suit, and walk downstairs. After he took along a .22 caliber rifle and a revolver and used them to murder his entire family. Lowell's father was shot a total of 17 times as he attempted to crawl into the kitchen. Lowell opened the window to make the crime look like a burglary before driving to the tunnel of Lawrence and starting and attending to the screening of Admiral's data in order to establish an alibi. After tossing the weapons into the Kansas River, Lowell drove home and called the police to report the murders. When police arrived, they were instantly suspicious of how unemotional Lowell seemed to be about his family's members' deaths. When the family's Baptist minister was summoned to home, he eventually persuaded Lowell to confess the crime. Lowell claimed he felt nothing at all while committing the murder, and while hurting the family farm had seemed to be his initial motive, he would later say, "I just don't know why I did it." Lowell's lawyers would attempt an insanity defense, but he was still sentenced to death and executed via hanging on November 30th, 1962. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, my second channel. Subscribe to the channel, my second channel. So next top 10s will be the top 10 shocking crimes of the Soviet secret police. Now, Dragon, there will be top 10 vigilante parents who sought justice for their children. Peace.